Peace and blessings. Welcome back to our series with our handsome Kato. You may remember on the last video, we blush the feet and the palms a little bit. What I've done is I have added a little bit more red to our paint so that it's not so pink. And we're going to go back over those areas that we blushed just to deepen it up just a little bit. So we will go right on ahead. I think what I want to do is start with, of course, our left palm. You know, I said I like to go generally with the left hand first. So we're going to make sure that we stir this up really, really well and that it is a good color. I can see it on the inside of this container. I like using glass or clear because I can see the color of the paint and I can just kind of put it on the side of the container and see the consistency. So, you know, if it's transparent or not. So I'm going to just put a little bit here. And we see that it's a little bit more, it's a little deeper red, just a little bit. Whereas yesterday's or the previous video, it was, you know, a very sheer pink color, which was, you know, which was okay. We could have stopped there. Um, However, it's nice to be able to see a little bit of the deepening color that gives the illusion of some blood flow. So everywhere that we see, you know, the palm and slightly overlapping to the skin, we're going to put this red. Now, I'm going to pounce it out. As you know, pouncing blends and removes excess. So we're going to see what that looks like. Going to see if you can see the difference in the color. So you see that's a little bit redder, whereas, let's see, I don't know if we can see any difference. I can see the difference, although again, I'm not a videographer, so but I can see a little bit of a difference where it looks more like blood flow as opposed to this hand that doesn't have that slight bit of tinge of red. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do the same thing here. We're avoiding the nails. We're just going around everywhere that we see this lighter skin tone, the palm and the sides of the fingers that don't have the deep chocolate color. And we're just blending it up a little bit, even a little bit slightly blending it in on the color of the hand, the brown. Okay, so we're making sure that we pounce it out everywhere, and we're going to go across on the soles of the feet as well. The soles of the feet. Now, what I want to show you is when I go across the soles, what I am going to do is I'm going to go across the tips of the toes, okay? Well, the fat part of the toes, the underside of the toes, a little bit in here, and kind of around the shape of the sole of the foot, avoiding you know, that circle portion that was blue, that we made blue. So we just want a little bit. We don't want a whole lot of color. I just want a little bit to give the appearance of some blood flow. If you look at the palms of your hands or the soles of your feet, they're generally not bright red. They may have a little bit of color, but they're not extremely red. You may see when you press it and it releases, you may have some red, but I don't want to make it too red. I want it to look what I feel is natural or flattering to a doll kit, for Reborn. So I'm going across, like I said, the underside of the toes, okay, and the ball of the foot, and around the sides, the lateral side of the foot, okay, and I'm kind of going around in somewhat the opposite of the semicircle so that we have a little bit of that shape, okay. I'm going to pounce this out nicely so that we can see just that tinge of red, that little bit of blood. Well, see, it looks like a little bit of blood flow. And you see where this is where we have the blue, okay, and you see the difference. You see a little bit of the red, and then you see a little bit of the blue. So we're going to do the other foot, and then we're going to do a little bit more of the blue to give a little bit more of that color. So again, we're going around the fat part of the toes, okay, the under part. And on this kit, since the toes, some of the toes are kind of turned down a little bit, kind of curled, I want to make sure that I'm just getting the underside of the toes. And remember, I'm going around the lateral side of the foot and the heel, right? To give just a little bit of that look of blood flow. And on our brush, we don't have a lot of color, a lot of paint, but we do have some. So we are going around, we're giving that illusion of that blood flow. Pouncing it out. Pounce, 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 pounce. Pounce, pounce, pounce. Now, on some babies, Caucasian babies, a lot of times you will see a lot more redness here, and even sometimes the whole foot, even up to parts of the ankles, will have some redness. Or you may see some artists, some reborn artists that like to put that redness, that blushing on the foot, and it does look very nice. Um, I like just this little bit of redness, this little bit on um, my melanated babies. You can see just that lightness there. Okay, so we are moving right along, right along, right along. We are moving right along. So what I'm going to do is take out the blue paint. I'm rinsing my brush, swishing it around in some distilled water. What I did also was I deepened up the blue also just a little bit. Remember, the red is the primary red color and the blue is the primary blue color. Okay, so I'm taking my same brush, which is in distilled water, and stir this around. I hope that everyone is having a good day. that all is well with you, your family, and your loved ones. And, just I would just like to encourage you to remain encouraged and steadfast, because even if you're going through something, things do change. You go through it and not just stay in it. You go through. So again, we see the clear glass, and so I like the paint, the way it looks. Now, what I'm going to do with the hand, I mentioned yesterday a triangle. I don't know um, if you kind of know what I mean when I say triangle, but in the triangle, it's kind of right here on the hand, like right here. We're gonna let the palm dry a little bit more because I forgot I can't go on top of the palm because we did put the red, but we will go on the instep portion of the foot with a little bit of this blue. Always remember to stir your paints because they separate and settle really quick. So we're gonna go around again like we did in the last video where we went around with a semicircle. So now we're going to take our sponge, and we're going to pounce it out. And right now, it's a very subtle color. It looks so real. It looks very much real. So we're going to do the same thing on the other foot. What the blue does is it makes it look um, a little bit thinner, like the skin is a little bit thin there. So it gives that kind of dimension where, everything doesn't just look flat. Because that's what we try to do with these reborn dolls with the art with our artistry. We try to play with lights and shadows and give the illusion of depth and different things of that nature to add to the realism. So you can see some of that shift, in the color of. So we will let it dry, and we will look at it again to see if we maybe want to put any more red. What I might do is I might just go across the top of the toes again, the underside of the toes, and I may make that a little bit more red, just a tiny bit. Not over the entire foot, but just on the tips of the underside of the toes. I think that's all the major blue that I'm going to use. So I'm going to clean off this brush in my distilled water. That is my angled brush. Now, what I would like to do with our handsome young man, Kato, um, I want to go a little bit more on the the inside, the corners of his eyes, and just tap a little bit of blue because it's so sheer. So even in person, it's very faint. I can't see it. I don't want to see a deep deep blue, but I do want to see a hint of blue. Look at that shadow in his nose and his lips. Such depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this detail brush, and it's very fine. Mix this up again, and I'm just going to take just a tiny bit, and it's just going to be a little dot in here, and I'm going to blend it out. So I'm taking a little dot, and I'm kind of making, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like a little like a little triangle, kind of, just kind of like a little bit the inner corner, of the eye, just the inner corner. And that again gives the illusion of some thin, some thin skin. Um, and we're going to pounce that out because we don't want any pooling. We don't want any excess. We just kind of pounce that out. I'm pouncing, well, I'm pressing. I'm just going straight down and back up because I don't want it to spread. I want it to just stay in that area. See if it shows a little. Might not be able to see it, but I can see a hint of it. So that's what we want. We just want that hint. And again, I deepened up the blue with, because it was much lighter. Because remember, I said the satin glaze kind of makes the colors a little bit lighter because it's white. So I deepened it up um, with just the blue. And again, this is primary blue. So we're done with the red and the blue for now. And what I want to do is I want to kind of go over an area on Kato's nose. What I did on yesterday, let's see if you can see it. You see on the side of the nose, there are two light dots, right? What happened on yesterday, after he dried, I noticed that there was like two small black specks. And what I did was I rubbed them off, and unfortunately, I rubbed the paint off as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, in a sense, how to make this repair. Okay. So what the color that I'm going to use, even though what I'm going to do is, even though we went with a deeper color here, what I'm going to do is build up that light spot with nutmeg. I'm going to build it up with nutmeg because that was the undertone, was the undertone color that was on the nose initially. Now, when you are trying to do a little bit of a repair to match it, you don't want to go all the way to the borders of wherever um, the flaw is, because if you go to the complete borders, that border is just going to keep getting darker and darker and darker and darker. And that's not what you want. You want it to eventually blend in. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing my paint here. And what I'm going to do is I'm using this detailer brush that I can get into the shape where it's almost like a little point. Yeah, I think you can see it. It gets almost like it's a point. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap, just barely tap in the center of where the color came off. I'm going to brace my hand and my elbow on my table so that I can try to just get it tapped in the middle. Now you can barely see anything, which is exactly what we need to see, barely anything. And then we tap that out. Now we may need to do a couple of layers. See, can you see it? We may need to do a couple of layers of paint with this nutmeg color, maybe two or three, and then we can go ahead with the deeper tone to give that look. So different things happen when we're painting. As an artist, what you try to do is make it work for you. So it is what I call a teaching opportunity. Um, Also, I have a place here on his ear that I need to do the same thing. I think what happened was, I think he fell. I think he fell on the floor, and I think that might have been where he received that little light spot. Let's see. I just kind of did a little bit of a repair with the nutmeg color, and you can actually barely even see. Okay, there you can see it. You can see it a little bit, but I put the nutmeg color in there, and it's blending quite nicely. So we're going to let this dry, and we're going to work a little bit on our handsome Kato's lip. What I am going to do is I'm going to take the nutmeg color and I'm going to slightly outline the lips. I don't know if you'll be able to see me do it, but I'm going to do it. So what I'm doing is I'm going on the inside of the border of his lips. The inside border. You maybe can see where it looks wet. Okay, that's the inside border. So I went there. Now I'm gonna just press that color, not fully pouncing, just kind of pressing that color. I'm gonna do the same thing with the lower lip, going on the inside of the border of the lip. And the details when we're working on a kit is generally what brings the kit to life, so to speak. So you take your time. I take my time with the details. Okay, and I'm just pressing that a little bit, pressing that a little bit. Now, what I like to do as well is this milk blister area. I'm going to go around it with the same nutmeg color because it will give a little bit of color, but it will be translucent. Now, I don't make the actual quote unquote milk blister, but I do like to highlight that area. Okay, because we tend to have full lips, and a lot of times we will see this. Now, what I'm going to do is go on the top of that milk blister just a little bit and go around it to kind of highlight it just a little bit. You maybe can see what I've done because it looks a little bit wet. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pounce or pat it, I should say, actually, not even pounce. I'm just patting it because I don't want it to spread. So we have that. Now, what I am also going to do is I'm going to go a little bit above the lip with this slightly light color of nutmeg. And what that will do is that will give a little bit of a shadow kind of area, not a deep shadow, but it will give a little bit of color where it gives a little bit of dimension. You may say, well, why didn't I just do that to begin with? Well, because I want to make sure that I have the lines that are, um, kind of thin. Now, the one that I just did, I'm going to kind of feather that while I pounce it. Okay, because what that will do is it will give, like I said, a little bit of a shadow. Will give a little bit of a shadow kind of color. So I'm liking that quite a bit. Now, what we have to do, because Kato, the inside of his ears are still light, we have to build it up. So I'm going to build it up with the nutmeg color. I don't want to make the video too long, but I do want to share what I am doing, and you can kind of really see it in, pretty much in real time, so to speak. Um, I was considering going live, because when you go live, even if um, no one is live with you at that time, you can save the live, and it will be, others can see it even afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to go into the inside of the ear where we need to deepen this color. Because remember, the outside of the ear, we have some of that deeper color of our burnt umber, which is the color that, you know, the baby will have, as his full coloring comes in. So with this color that we just used, the nutmeg, it will give just a little bit of slight bit of color. We're going to build it up, build it up. If need be, we may take a deeper color, but I want to just kind of go slowly to be sure that um, I'm getting the color that I think will blend nicely. I don't want too much of a stark difference. I don't want a stark difference. I want just what appears to be, a nice subtle change in color where it looks ever so natural. I think I'm going to pounce just a little bit. Let's see, because I don't want anything that appears like it might be pooling. Okay, so we can see quite nicely, quite nicely. I text a friend of mine the work in progress of Kato, and the funny thing is she said, "Oh, I want to see his face darker." I said, "Well, I haven't finished him. He is a work in progress." She may have meant, the mid face to be darker. However, if you look at even yourself, generally the mid face has a slight bit of highlight, a slight bit of highlight to it. Um, so that's what I am looking to be able to achieve with our Kato, that he has that nice variation, that subtle shift, that blending of colors. So I want to do a little something with Kato's. I think I'm gonna go over his limbs with some additional color. I'm gonna pause right here for a second and get the color. Okay, so here's the colors. What I think I want to do is remember our deepest shade that we have used on the legs is this number 2, which is the burnt umber. Now what I would like to do, is take maybe this number 4 color that is a combination of all of these different colors that I put in: burnt umber, navy blue, some what is it? A yellow, but it's oh gosh, and then I used some um some of the beige color. So we I'm thinking about just putting that on, so it may, I don't know, it may kind of add another dimension of color to his skin. So I'm going to mix this up a bit, and I want to see what I want to do with this color. It's very pretty. I want to see if this is going to be a wise decision or what. Um, I want to see, because I love the color that he has. I'm just thinking I maybe want to add another layer of dimension to him. So what I want to do is I'm going to just take let me see, should I put this arm here? Yeah. What I think I may do, because you see he has such beautiful, beautiful deep color, right? Which is absolutely gorgeous. But there is a of little bit of a contrast where we put a lot of the burnt umber, the dark color, on his ear. So the legs and the tip of the ears are the same color, whereas the tip of the ear is the color that ultimately, will be his skin tone when he, quote unquote, would become older. So I'm debating on just putting this lighter color on top of it, just to see if it will give, not going to say a golden hue to it, but if it will give a slightly, a slight, variation with the color. So we're going to see. It may not do much because it's so close in the color, but let's see. I'm just going to take a little bit. Just going to take a little bit. Just a little bit. We're going to find out together. I'm just going to put a little bit on the underside of his thigh. Okay? So you see what color that makes, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pounce this and see what color we get. Does it do anything? Okay, and it does. It does something quite nice. I don't know if you can see some of that. It makes it real chocolate goodness. Real chocolate goodness. Um, I like the way that looks. It's not a it's not a harsh change, a big change, but it gives such a beautiful it gives dimension, gives another level of dimension. And see, that's what what we do when we're reborning. We do a lot of things to try to give dimension to the kit. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go a little bit on the toes, a little bit. And remember, we did deepen up some of the crease areas on the legs and the on the ankles and the knees, which I'm very pleased with the way that um, is coming. It's turning out. It looks very nice. What I'm doing here, I just want to again get a little bit more dimension because everything that we do adds some kind of dimension. I don't know if you can see some of the change, color, the difference in the color. It's just a little bit. It's not much, but it's very pretty. And again, like I said, it gives some dimension. It gives that chocolatey goodness. It really does that rich chocolate goodness. And it's very nice. I think it's very, very nice. So whereas, um, you know, his coloring will be, have dimension. It won't be flat. It will have dimension. Now, you do have some people with very rich, deep complexions that it doesn't seem to have any variation in in their skin coloring, and that looks very, very beautiful. However, on our dolls, um, I don't think, in order to maintain or to achieve what I say is the realism factor, I like to do things that will maybe give depth and dimension to our reborn dolls. Because when you see people, because they have blood flow actually, under their skin and different things, that that even if they have that beautiful, rich, deep complexion, they don't look like a doll, even though they will look like chocolate, but they don't look like a doll. So, they may have, some beautiful richness in their color. So let's see. I don't want our baby to look ashy because if he looks have an ashen, like a gray color, then he would look like he's not well. So I am slowly building up and I'm trying to make sure that the underside of the leg where it bends, that I'm pouncing and the color is remaining on both sides of the bend. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at both legs together and see if I'm pleased with the new coloring, because one of the ways that I will know is I have to look at it in comparison to the other leg. And I want to also mention that I'm not a professional. I am a self-taught reborn artist, and I have only been doing this. This is October 2025, and I started making dolls the ending of August. And so here I am. Although I've had my channel longer than that, it was as a collector, and I discuss, collecting and different things on my channel. Okay, so I think I do like the color. Not sure why I'm not getting enough. It's almost like I'm not getting enough light. Oh, so lovely. Ooh, so lovely. Let's look at the other leg together with it. Um, I don't know. This is the leg I just did. This is the other leg that's not done. I don't know. I just see see more dimension. Um, Even though it's still a rich chocolate, um, I don't know, it just has so much, I don't know, maybe more dimension, in my opinion. Um, what I would like, if you can, to tell me what you think in the comments. Um, what you think in the comments. I think I think it looks very nice. Very nice. Especially in comparison with, I think with his, you know, with his head and his ears and everything. Because we do want some continuity. So I think it looks nice. Um, yeah, I think so. I think it does. I think it looks nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other leg. And oh, wait a second. Did I not tap the toes out? I think I didn't pounce the toes. Ooh, 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 ooh. Not sure. I may have, or I'm not sure, but I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna pounce them. If I did, great. If I didn't, it's still okay because I'm pouncing it now. Okay, making sure we don't have any pooling in the creases. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with the other limbs and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do the other limbs off camera and then I'm gonna come back. Okay, so we are back and I am working on the last limb with this new color, or I should say, um, an old color that I'm putting on top of the burnt umber, which is giving a beautiful, beautiful skin coloring. Really beautiful. While I am reborning, I spend time watching different things on YouTube. Sometimes I'm watching other artists. Sometimes I'm watching box openings. Um, Sometimes I'm watching things that others might consider morbid. I'm watching right now something called The Complete History of Jason. You know, Jason from Friday the 13th. Uh, yeah, so I'm watching that at this time while I'm reborning. I sent pictures of Kato in pieces to a friend of mine, and she said, "Oh my God, she's a dismembered baby." I guess it does look like that when when you are actually reborning and the baby is not yet put together. She said it looks like something for Halloween or so. I thought that was rather funny. Um, yes, so here we are with this beautiful color, which has now blended in all, the skin tones with him, the other skin tones. And I think this color has brought out, I think it looks nice. I think it does. He looks nice and chocolatey. Nice and chocolatey. Now, we do have some time that we can go back across this part of the nose. I'm going to take a chance with this here color and see if I can place it in between the middle of the spot that's on his nose to see if I can do some of the repair. Gonna see. Remember, I'm only going in the very middle, not on the border, but the very middle of the area. So then I'm gonna kind of pounce it a little bit to see if you can see it. Um, it's barely visible because we're doing a pretty good job at the repair. I think we're gonna need maybe one more coat or one or two, maybe one or two more layers of this color. And I think that would do well with the repair. I'm going to also put a little bit on that little dot that's on his ear. It's always good to know different techniques because inevitably you will have to do some type of repair on your doll, or someone might ask you to repair their doll, or you may be doing a painting like I'm painting, and you then will realize like, uh-oh, I need to do a repair. So I'm pleased with what's going on now with our baby Kato. I think what I want to do is change up this paint and pull out the nutmeg so that we can go again over his luscious his lips so that we can continue with the outlining of his lips. You kind of begin to work on the kit, the lips and the nails pretty much all through the kit, all through the time that you're working on the kit, so that you can slowly build up, slowly build up the colors that you need. So now I'm going to stir this up ever so well, ever so well. And we're going to go across, again, across his lips. And, well, to outline his lips. I'm going to take the detail brush and we're going to just outline his lips where what we already did before. What I'm doing is I'm going around the inside of the lip with a nice line. Remember, I'm not blending that out. I got a little speck thing on here. All right. So, okay. And we're going to go around that milk blister to kind of outline a little bit as well. Okay. And we're going to just tap this into place. See how nice that looks? Looks like we did a whole lot when actually we didn't. Now we're going to go the lower lip, or I should say the bottom lip, and we're going to outline. And again, we're kind of going on the inside of the lip line. One thing to remember when you're doing the lips on a kit, the lips actually are not a complete outline of what you see. There's a border that you actually go inside of, and then that area that's outside of the lip, you you don't um, you don't put the whatever the lip coloring is, so you get a lot of that translucent type of look to it. Yeah, so you can kind of see a little bit, right? A little bit. I think he's really coming along nicely. I think once some of his face has dried a little bit more, I'm going to go over the mid face again. And this here fulcrum, I think I want to take a little bit of deep, that deeper color again, the one that we mixed. I want to be careful. I don't want to make a mess or anything here as I'm shifting my paints around. So I want to just kind of go a little bit with this color here, and just open this, and then I'm going to mix it and mix it with pretty easily. So I'm not going to have you watch me mix. I don't want this video to be too long, but I do want it to be interesting and thorough. Okay, so we're going to go inside the philtrum. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go, again, outline, and then I'm going to go a little bit to this lower portion of the philtrum in here. I'm going to show you. So I've mixed the paint. I'm using my small detail brush. I'm going to go around again. Let me brace my hand and my arm. Now what I did was I did the sides. I didn't go all the way up around the top. I just did the sides. Now I'm seeing that I went slightly outside of the border. So I'm going to wipe that off. And then I'm going to go on this lower half, this lower portion. And I'm then going to see if I can pounce a little bit here to blend it. That way we can blend. Let's see. Let's see if you can see it. Oh, let's see what angle. Let's see if you can see. I deepen, yeah, I think you can see it there. I deepen that color on the bottom of the filter, and that just gives a little bit more of an outline. So since we have this deeper color out, remember we like to do add color into the nose. Let's make sure this is mixed up because remember it separates really quick. And just going to take, remember we have that dark color in there, which is great, the black, and we did some other colors inside too, the varying browns that we have used. Now we have that color inside, and what we're going to do, we're going to just tap it, not completely pounce, because if we pounce, 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 we may spread it on the outside of the nose, on the outside of the nostrils, and that's not what we want. I got just a tad bit of paint on the outside, so I'm going to remove that ever so gingerly. I think that will be the conclusion of today's video. I would encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we will be back again, continuing this series of our handsome young man, Kato. Well, while we're here, I think we can just take a little bit and go inside the corners of his mouth. Remember, we're adding dimension. Look at one side, and you can see the side that I added. You can see a little bit more dimension as opposed to this side. And I'm going to put a little bit in this side. It's the subtle things that make a lot of difference. And we'll pounce that. And I think I'm going to just take a small, this detailed brush, and again go in between the lips. Now, what I'm going to also do here, remember we have almost nothing on our brush. Now, you can see the milk blister, the lower part that's on the bottom of the top lip that's kind of touching the bottom lip. I'm going to circle that milk blister on that bottom with this color so that it can kind of stand out a little bit. Remember we did the sides of the milk blister with the lighter color, the nutmeg, that would kind of give a little bit of a translucent look to it. Now we're going around the bottom to create a little bit of a shadow of it. Let's see if you can see. Okay. You may be able to see it a little bit. It's just a small addition, but you remember the small things make a big difference. The subtle things make a big difference. So again, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Leave some comments. Tell me what you're thinking. I appreciate those of you who have made comments. I really do appreciate that. Enjoy your day. Take care. See you the next time.